Welcome to the show, everyone. As you all know, I made it possible for everybody to talk about themselves right on the radio. We're talking to everyone within 3 feet of us about what we do. And I absolutely love my show. I love it because it's information for everybody. Now, I said it in the beginning. Sometimes I'll say it sometimes throughout the show, but I just said it and I got it out right now. I love my show because it's information for people out there. My first guest has been on my show with me now several times, television show, YouTube show, all sorts of things. His name is Jim Hostler, and he's a reverse mortgage specialist. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your book. I want to talk about your book because it's awesome that you wrote it, why you wrote it, and what we're going to talk about today.
As always, Carol, it's great to be with you.
Thank you.
So, yes, I'm a reverse mortgage specialist, but I've been in the mortgage profession 30 years. Now I have a gray hair to prove it. And
that's because you weren't doing reverse, or they were different.
They were different.
They were different.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2015, I did my first reverse mortgage. It is truly its own profession, which we'll talk about more later today. And since that time, I became frustrated in trying to learn it. I'm a 25-year plus veteran of the mortgage industry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do these things work? So through that frustration, I wrote a book, and now it's in its second edition, to explain not only, well, for my learning selfishly, to be able to then help clients, but also to the clients, to the prospective homeowners, to financial advisors, to realtors, to accountants, to people, fiduciaries, people that support the seniors. It's also an educational resource to them. So it's like you can read the book cover to cover, God bless. If you wanted to use it as a resource tool, that's great too. Chapters are short and you can break it down and take a look and see what you want to understand or know more about. Now,
Bob Massey, he said that you made a complicated subject understandable.
Bob Massey was, what a gentleman. I had the pleasure of doing an event with him at the Orange Tree in Scottsdale. I believe it was in 2018, and sadly he passed away, I think a year ago or so now, maybe 2. And we did the event together. I had just published my book, and I'm like, Bob, would you be so kind? And he took it that night to his hotel room, and the next morning came out and wrote the endorsement for me, and oh my God, what a great guy. Him and his wife, Lynn.
I love
nice
that.
People.
Now, the book is called Reverse Mortgage 360. It's a new perspective. It's the second edition, so he's excited about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up the lines to the audience, and we're going to let everyone call in throughout the rest of the show because we want everyone to have it. I believe everyone should have it. Because, you know, first of all, us younger folks are living with older folks now, too.
Yes.
How old do you have to be in order to sell the how old do you have to be?
If you're a couple, somebody's got to be 62.
Only one.
But only one.
Right, only one. So when I say that, I truly mean that because a lot of us have been, you know, we're marrying younger people, and so, you know, it doesn't really matter as long as one is 62.
Right.
And so either way, I think the information is wonderful information for people. You don't have to read it from cover to cover, but it's a great resource guide to you for what you might find you have questions for. And most people have a ton of questions on this, and we're going to open up the lines to the audience for everyone to call in. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. You know, I say this sometimes. I know this is not a weed whacker that we're giving away at $19.95, but it could be that weed whacker to somebody, you know what I mean? It could be something that could give you great information. And how many times you had people that say to you over and over again, you know, oh, I'm not going to own my house. Oh, they're terrible. I can't do that, Jim.
My profession first is an educator, and I happen to do reverse mortgages. That's kind of how I view it.
Love it.
Because so many people have the myths and misconceptions of yesterday. I could have done these mortgages 30 years ago. I didn't because they sucked. That's really crass, but that's how they work.
Be careful what you say here on the station.
But beginning in 2013, as I've said before, the HUD said they took a look, and with the meltdown we had in 8 and 10, HUD came around and said, wow, we have a problem if we don't address this issue. 2013 they started. Through at least 2017 they made a lot of changes. If you're not educated, if you haven't studied these, and this is applicable with all due respect, the vast majority of loan officers, over 500,000 people are licensed in my profession in the country. The vast majority of them do not know how to do a reverse mortgage. It's a profession unto itself. It has its own vocabulary, its own rules, its own way of doing it.
Well, we were talking about that earlier, like you said. You wanted to make sure people understand. You can't just go to anybody, any mortgage guy or girl that does all these things. They need to understand it, and everybody's story is different. And I think that's where it all comes down to, is what you like to do is get to know your client.
Yeah.
Find out what's going on with them.
It's not about the lowest rate and how quickly can we close. It's about, tell me about life. I am working with a couple now that are closing literally as we speak, and what a beautiful story, because I was able to pay off their existing first mortgage, and they in essence got an increase in their retirement income of over 1/3 by paying off their mortgage. Happy retirement. I had another lady a couple months ago I closed, and over the holidays her husband passed away, and we were in the application process, right? And it was scheduled to get a $10,000 cash back and pay off a mortgage. She paid off the mortgage, home appraised for a little bit more, surprise, Maricopa County, right? And she got just over $20,000 back. Now it was horrifically sad because she lost her husband during that time of 50 years, but what a help in her retirement in the financial picture.
Can you imagine if she didn't, right?
Yeah.
It would be just a different story. Your website is myretirementloan.com. We've got our lines open here, and everyone's getting the book, and I think everyone should have it. Anyone who is of retirement age or younger, I guess it doesn't really matter. Anybody, if you're married with somebody, if they're 62, this is something to look at. I told you before a long time ago, my dad had one. And this was way, way, way long ago, when it wasn't considered the greatest thing in the world to do. But in his situation, he needed, he could see that, his wife, my mom, had passed away, and there was no more Social Security coming in on her end, from her end. And he could see, I do have money, but gosh, I might need money just in case, right? And so his financial advisor spoke with him and said, this might be something to look at. It was a wonderful thing. It wasn't a bad thing. And a lot of people think of them so badly. I don't understand why.
It's starting to change, because the Financial Planning Association is getting behind it and making some good press about that. And a lot of financial advisors are encouraging people to take a look if it fits. And the perception about them is now beginning to change, which is a very good thing. It deserves that. And
Absolutely.
It's not for everybody, but the critical part is please get educated and then make an informed decision.
Right. I think that's what you do, is arm people with the information to give them ammunition to make a good decision.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
It's the numbers about them and what are their needs and what are their goals, and then putting that on the kitchen table and saying, does it work or does it not? It's like my shirt. Does it fit or does it not?
It's beautiful. But here's what we want to know. It is its own profession, so we want to implore you to understand that. This is not something that you go to anybody and, okay, guess what? Do you happen to do reverse mortgages? No. You want to go to somebody who's experienced, and Jim is the guy. The number to call here for the book is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. It's called Reverse Mortgage 360. It's a new perspective, and this is the second edition. And he has made a very complicated subject understandable. You don't have to read it cover to cover. You can look at what you have questions on, and it'll answer it. You do free consultations with everyone.
Free consultations.
Right.
The other thing on the website, there's about 20 videos that run 2-3 minutes each. You're welcome to go on the website, take a look at the videos, and just see a topic that may be of interest in. Again, 2-3 minutes, that's it. That's all the videos are, short and sweet.
It's myretirementloan.com. You can also call them direct. It's 928-225-7418. Call in here. We're going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show. To get this book, everyone should have it. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. We're going to keep on talking here because we are live still, and I want to so what I want to do is kind of go into some of the myths, if that's okay with you, the myths about it. Anything else that we need to talk about, covered about the its own profession a little bit? Do you want to go back to any of that?
Just a little bit, because
a little bit? Okay.
I actually...
It's cold. It's cold now. It's very.
We had, I had an hour and 15-minute conversation with a senior underwriter over a 2-page document. It's very
Come on in.
specific.
Have a seat.
Oh.
Right over here. Right over here.
All right.
But,
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
It's okay to see?
Yeah.
This is
Perfect.
good?
Yeah.
All right.
So what are you gonna say? What were you gonna say? 2-page document with a underwriter
hour and 15-minute conversation.
for what though? For them to understand? For
me
them?
to understand the new ruling that HUD, who's the godfather that writes the rules, not necessarily how the rules are, but how HUD interprets it, which can change. They don't change the English on the page, but they can change how they interpret it.
Interesting. Huh.
Right? Who would have, I mean,
It's
would have ever
different every
guessed?
time.
yes, yeah, it's very,
Interesting.
very dynamic.
We'll go back.
Something, it's all about the home. That's what it's about.
Well, here they bought this home. They bought it to. Some people years ago used to buy homes to, die in, right?
Many people still have that same mindset. I'm here, you're gonna take me out horizontally. And, you've worked so hard to pay it off, why not let what you've worked so hard to pay
Right.
off pay you?
Right.
So if you do this, and then what you do like the 15 or 30 year, however it comes, like a mortgage, correct or no? Like,
There's no end date.
oh, that's
So
what
if
I'm
that goes
wondering. I'm
to
like,
your
what
local
if you get
doctor,
the
they
money
give you
back?
120, God bless them.
Oh, okay. And they could still, but there's no loss if they did. Like the family doesn't owe on the property after that
They
point.
may,
Okay.
because tomorrow you're going to owe,
You never know
interest
where
is
you're gonna die,
accruing.
Yeah.
It's backwards, you're not making a payment, interest is accruing. But if you look at interest accruing at 3% and our inflation rate at Maricopa County 10%,
Yeah.
you have more equity when you're 100 than you
Great
do
deal.
today. Good question.
And that's where they have to go to school too and find out, once this is not just a done deal, they have to go and learn about how to even have this loan. If you call it a loan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here we go. So welcome back, everyone. It's interesting how so many people have questions when it comes to reverse mortgages. And, whatever you thought, you can't think. Really, you can't think about them because they are so different. And even at the break, we've been talking to people on Facebook. So everybody, hi out there, like us and follow us. We're going to be sharing the show later on. You were saying that each one are so different, and each person, each homeowner is so individual. We've got our lines open here, and I say to everyone that's listening, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you know, give them the book. It's free. We want everybody to have a copy of it. That's why he's going to let everyone call in and get it throughout the rest of the show. And, get this information. It could change your whole outlook on everything, and it could also change your life. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100.
I was going to say, the largest growing demographic as a percentage in the United States today?
Me, oldest
85
person.
No, you're still young. 85 and over.
Oh, 85.
85.
Wow.
So how many people today have planned for a 30 or 40-year retirement?
At 85.
Yeah, and so we're living longer, and
Right.
there's more people living longer, and Social Security was meant, the Social Security statistic, Social Security was meant to be a 40% of your income. Where's the difference coming from? And if you haven't planned, and it's not so much that people have failed, but the system has changed so much since it was initially invented in pretty much the 1980s, it's not applicable today. And a lot of people are getting caught in that in between. Our parents had a job for 30 years, retired, happy retirement, and then you die. It was relatively speaking a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the security of knowing that. And those days are gone. And so, it could be somebody that's in their 40s, please take a look at this and introduce this to grandpa and grandma. Or you're in your 60s, take a look at this for mom and dad. Or you're in your 80s, take a look at this for living another 10, 15, 20 years. I had a lady the other day in Colorado, 101 years old, call me about a reverse mortgage.
How cool
That's
is
a record.
that? That's neat.
That's a record.
But people need to understand that it is a tool. now. It's tool. It's different. It's not, well, it's always been a quote unquote tool, but now it's a tool for a whole many different reasons.
Yes, I'm not a financial advisor. I love working in collaboration with them, but reverse mortgages are really, in a way, a financial planning tool.
Absolutely. Now, your website is I'll get it out,
No.
myretirementloan.com, and you have a lot of videos there that people can look at. They're very short little videos that you can look at and see different things that you might have questions on. You can also call him direct. He does free consultations with everyone. It's 928-225-7418. The book is called Reverse Mortgage 360. It's a new perspective, and it's his second edition, and we're going to leave our lines open here for everyone to keep on calling throughout the rest of the show, because he wants everyone to have it. He thinks that everyone should take a look at it if it's for you or someone that you know. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100.
And your audience is in California and Arizona, correct?
All of Arizona, part of California, New
Yes.
Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada on the radio, and then
Awesome,
streaming all
yes.
over the place.
So-
We're 50,001.
Okay, I'm licensed in Colorado, Illinois, Arizona, and California. So if you're in those areas, and I have connections through the company to go to other states. So
I want to go back to you saying, it's your own, it's its own, what did you call it? It's its
own
profession.
even though it's within the mortgage profession, you have, the first-time home buyers, or you have VA loans, or you have the FHA minimum down, you have all of those loans, and they're the traditional forward mortgage space. A reverse mortgage is really its own profession because it has its own underwriting guidelines, it has its own vocabulary. Just yesterday I spent an hour and 15 minutes on the phone with senior underwriting, understanding two-page document, that's it, and the methodology behind that. So it's not HUD's the godfather that writes the rules. This has been around since 1989. The first one was done in 1961, but it really became what it is today in 1989. And again, when you can't just say, well, that's a mortgage and it's like this. No, it's completely its own distinct type of mortgage. So that's it's so critical to get with somebody that really understands them.
I also want to bring up the last time you were on, if I remember correctly, you brought up that somebody might already even have a reverse mortgage. They need to relook at that, right? And maybe even refi. It could be very good to do.
Great point.
I
Yes.
remember what people say.
Good job, yes. There's been some change to the betterment. If you've had your reverse mortgage for at least 1 year or close to it, 1 year, anytime after that, please, if you haven't already, please call me and take a look at it. Interest rates are down. That means the lower the interest rate, relatively speaking, the more money you would get. You're older than you were when you got the reverse mortgage. The older you are, the more money you get. Home appreciation, so home values are up. The more higher the value of the home, the more money you get. When all three of those have come together, it's kind of like the perfect storm, and that's where we're at now.
We're at the perfect storm.
So
Pick up the phone right now and call either him at 928-225-7418 or call in here, get the book. Get the book and start off with that. Our number here is 602-277-5369 and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. I'm letting everyone call throughout the rest of the show.
awesome, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because we only have a few more minutes here, and I wanted to kind of talk about still the myths that people think about. Number one,
The bank owns my home.
I know.
Absolutely not, never. Period. End of story.
Okay. Number two,
My children won't inherit the money, and while there is no crystal ball in today's market, which has been this way for the last 11, 12 years, you actually will have more equity in your home tomorrow than you do today. And
I'm going to use my dad as that example. This was so long ago, and there was money. I mean, you have to use it correctly, right? I mean,
Yes.
there's a way of using it, and when you work with somebody like Jim, you know exactly what you're doing, and there was no hiccups whatsoever.
And there's 5 potential ways to get cash out of a reverse mortgage. So it's not like it's, here's the rate and here's what you get. So there's potential flexibility in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
which
the
is
other thing we want people to know, this is not something that you just go and do and it's done. These things take time.
And another aspect about this is, so we're so educated on getting the lowest interest rate. low interest rates are good, but in fact, on a reverse mortgage, it may be not to your good, how do I want to say that? Not to your betterment. It may be adverse to get a lower interest rate, and there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, but the concept is true. It may be better to have a little bit higher interest rate because it would be a long-term benefit to you.
Right, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Where did I hear that today? You just don't know what you don't know, and that's what I love about the show is that it gives these people. And yes, we do know one thing about everybody out there: procrastinators. What is that about people? I don't understand it. But they write things down, they put it on their refrigerator, they say, oh yeah, I got to do that. You know, there is no time better than now, right now.
That would be a good time to pick up the phone and call. How's that?
But right now is a great time to do it. And call in here, get the book. We want you to have it. It's Reverse Mortgage 360. It's easy to read. You made it that way on purpose. I like the large writing too myself, you know, like it's in large print a little bit.
Yep.
And of course, it's the new perspective, and it's a second edition. Again, I think that what you've done is, like we said, well, I'm going to say what Bob Massey also said, is that you have made a complicated subject extremely understandable.
Thank you.
And I mean, and that is so, and we do need to understand it, and each person you talk to is different.
And today, with such a limited inventory of homes for sale and the new builds coming up, you can actually purchase a home using a reverse mortgage. Wasn't available until 2009. So that's something else if it's of interest, call me.
I'm telling you now, there are so many different ways that you can utilize this, and it's important to have that conversation with you. And everybody's got their story, and I think that's what we've said all along.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with that call and have that free consultation with Jim, and sit down and find out where you're at, what can we use it for. And like you said before, it isn't for everybody, but you don't know that until you find out.
And the thing about it, I've said many times, it's like you plan to live to be 120 and live like you're going to die tonight, because losing both of my parents in 19, what you don't ever, I wouldn't wish on anybody, is when you lose a spouse, that's the emotional impact of that is real, it's sad, and it's tough. What you don't want to do at that point is have to react to something financially because you didn't plan for it today.
Right, it's so important. Check him out on his website. It's myretirementloan.com. Call him direct. He does free consultations. That phone number is 928-225-7418. You can also keep on calling here. We're going to keep the lines open here for the rest of the show for everyone to get the book. It's Reverse Mortgage 360, A New Perspective, second edition. Our number here, 602-277-5369, and toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. What are your final words real quick?
Be proactive, take a look at it, see how it fits your needs, your goals, and call me today.
Have the consultation with him. It's free to do, and it could be the greatest thing you ever did. You won't know until you call. So its number is 928-225-7418, or call in here and get the book.